Good morning, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the 15th of June. Happy Saturday to you. Hope you're having a good weekend. So far, one thing that I think will put a smile on your face, no tropical cyclones anticipated over the next couple of days, and certainly nothing out there right now to worry about. Taking a look at the hemispheric shot, you can see a pretty well-defined intertropical convergence zone several degrees north of the equator, which is right here. The Intertropical Convergence Zone, or ITCZ, for the most part, the easiest way to explain it is a boundary where the trade winds from the northern hemisphere meet the trade winds from the southern hemisphere, coming in across the equator, of course, and that air rises or converges, and you get that sort of piling up of the air, and up it goes. And you get cloud cover if there's available moisture in the piling up of the air. Sometimes there's not much moisture, and even though the trade winds are colliding, you don't get any convection along the ITCZ. But for right now, it's pretty prominent, and that's the only thing that's really sticking out here across the tropics of any note at all is the ITCZ. A little bit of convection, scattered, weak at best in the Caribbean associated with a tropical wave. There's another weak tropical wave in the eastern Pacific. Otherwise, I'll show you in just a minute, we have a very large area of dry, stable air out in the tropical Atlantic, pretty common for this time of year. Taking a look at the surface map from the Tropical Analysis and Forecast branch at the National Hurricane Center, there's a tropical wave analyzed in the Caribbean Sea, another one here near Central America down in southern Mexico, and then we have the monsoon trough and the Intertropical Convergence Zone regions that I outlined on the satellite picture. Otherwise, things are nice and calm. There's a beautiful area of high pressure sitting out in the central and western Atlantic. Very nice high pressure over the eastern United States that came in after that bout of severe weather, and that made for a nice morning here in Wilmington, North Carolina, where I'm located. The temperature when I got up was 61 degrees. Pretty good for June 15th. We'll take that over 81 degrees for a low that we saw recently. That was crazy. We saw the severe weather as a result. All that energy in the air. Well, there's a lot of energy in the air out here in the Atlantic, but it's in the form of strong mid to upper level winds coming off of Africa, blowing this dust. Saharan air layer is what it's called, the SAL or the SAL. Very stable, dry air mass. Very typical for this time of year as strong high pressure builds over the northern Atlantic, parts of northern Africa, and you blast that warm, stable, silicate-laden air, sand and dust and even insects. No kidding about the insects. Big locusts sometimes land on ships. And in the Cape Verde Islands area, there was a documentary about that a number of years ago. There's the Cape Verde Islands. My telestrator color is about the same as the color of the Saharan air layer. This will dissipate once we get into August. We'll see these big outbreaks of Saharan dust between now and August. They'll come and go. It's when they break, and we don't really have a big outbreak, that we look for tropical waves. But you can see over Africa, hardly any convection at all. The Madden-Julian oscillation, the upward motion, none of that favoring Africa or the Western Hemisphere right now. So when will that change? Well, maybe in the next couple of weeks. The GFS indicating that the Madden-Julian oscillation will be rather incoherent. That's what it means when it's in this circle right here. It's very hard to detect. And then maybe it'll come out into phases 8 and 1, actually right along that border area favoring the Western Hemisphere and Africa. If that's the case, things could get a little bit more active as we approach the end of the month. The Euro, on the other hand, the ECMWF, has a similar solution with an incoherent, hardly detectable MJO, very weak pulse, and then it stays that way even though it tries to head into the favorable regions for Western Atlantic, Gulf, Caribbean, East Pacific tropical development. It's just not very amplified. You see, when you get the MJO to come way out like this and really show itself, then you typically have a stronger upward motion pulse in the tropics. This is rather undetectable. It certainly is unremarkable. Staying close to the circle here, very, very weak MJO signal according to the ECMWF. So we'll have to just wait and see which one will be right. I tell you what we know for sure, and that is that the weekend's going to be magnificent. No issues from the tropics to worry about today or tomorrow. So have yourself a great weekend. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about something. We'll always have something to talk about. And until then, have yourself a great Saturday. I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll have another blog for you tomorrow.